One day, as a motorcyclist globetrotter, you realize that there are only so many roads you can traverse on a planet that is 70% covered with water. And then it really hits you how small our world is, yet with so many sights and sounds waiting to be discovered on two wheels. Especially when your wheels are the fastest in the world. And this is the beauty of piloting such fast motorcycles. They teach you to practice patience, discipline, and appreciation of not only how well they are engineered by man, but how well crafted is our planet that we call home, by some higher power that we have not even begun to understand. Australia is an incredibly remarkable country to do a road trip in. So much so that I have done this beautiful piece of land jutting out of the water 3 times already in the past on 2 wheels. Today I will be taking you on a journey with me across this country, which is also one of the 7 continents. This will be my shortest ride in Australia, and the 4th one, with a total of 12,000 kilometers from Sydney to Perth and back.
On the world's fastest motorcycle. Everything else is life cycle. Oh, I love to crash down into the sunset. The kangaroos, wombats, emus of my mindset. Hell bent on making it an experience unlike no other. XP, HP, and Motographer rock it together. Shut up, Benny on the road too as well. We make a great team, and no we are not riding into hell. From Sydney to Perth, it is no joke. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yo, both the Ninja H2 slicing through the tarmac like butter. They ain't really a ton of V4s, no slouch either, brother. Come now, enough fooling around. Let me tell you a story that will turn heads round and round. A Motographer.
The lure of the biggest city of Australia, Sydney, cannot be understated. Beautiful urban backdrops, iconic buildings, art districts, and lots more. We chose to start from a rather unexpected place, the Waverley Cemetery, the final resting place of thousands of human beings, a place where a lot of dreams end, but ours began. From Sydney, we head out towards the west with the beautiful Royal National Park giving us a taste of what was to come with its winding butter-smooth roads and the beautiful Hacking River. But this was a preview of what was to come. Near the city of Wollongong, we rode on the Lawrence Hargrave Drive and the wonderful Sea Cliff Bridge that is right on the Tasman Sea. The relatively sedate capital of Australia, Canberra, the home of Australia's largest flag, and then some more. From here, we head out into the high country through the snowy mountains that also houses the largest engineering project ever undertaken in Australia, the Snowy Hydro Scheme, that consists of 16 major dams, 9 power stations, and is spread over 5,100 square kilometers of area. The Snowy Mountains Highway is an equally impressive 300 kilometers long winding road. This is the Blowing Dam Reservoir that is also part of the Snowy Hydro Scheme. For us, it was one of the meccas because it is here in 1978 when a speed record of 511 kilometers an hour was set by a boat named Spirit of Australia. One of the finest tarmacs awaited us on the way to Charlotte Pass that overlooks Mount Kosciuszko, Australia's highest peak. It is a one-way toll road to the top of the pass, which means fantastic tarmac and minimal traffic on weekdays. A true bliss for us motorcyclists. The stay for the night was at Jindabyne on the foothills with the beautiful Jindabyne Lake. One of the best things about most of Australia is its sparsely populated land that gives you peace and serenity to just stop your motorcycle and soak in the wonders of the land. Nothing shouts aloud being wild and free than this. The Snowy River Way is a 100-kilometer stretch that starts from Jindabyne and ends in the town of Bombala, with many great corners and open country like this. Windmills are also abundant on this route, with the tall golden grass swaying in the wind, completing their dreamy look on a beautiful sunny day. The third major mountain road that we did was the Great Alpine Road that runs from Bairnsdale to Wangaratta in the state of Victoria for a total of 300 kilometers. It is one of the most famous mountain roads in Australia that has some amazing tarmac and views and is one of the highest all-year accessible roads of Australia. But you can never be too careful with the kangaroos and more, especially at sunset. Our journey through the mountains ended as we descended into Australia's second largest city of Melbourne. A very beautiful city with the most amount of skyscrapers in Australia, beautiful roadside cafes, and in general more motorcycle friendly than Sydney. The trams and beautiful Victorian and contemporary architecture give it a very charming look. Street art is also abundant in Melbourne, with Hosier Lane being the most famous graffiti district. Albert Park F1 circuit was definitely the highlight for me, as the Australian GP had just concluded a weekend before and it was practically empty for me to let my knee sliders taste the tarmac. The Great Ocean Road is one of the most famous roads in the world. And that comes with a price. If you manage to avoid it on weekends and holidays, you can get treated to some fantastic landscapes and vistas. The Great Ocean Road is 240 kilometers long and starts from Torquay in east to Allen's Ford in the west. It is the world's longest war memorial, with World War I veterans building the road. The road passes through different kinds of terrains, including rainforests. A lot of beaches, limestone and sandstone formations with some amazing sunsets. As a cinematographer, I love Australia's rustic look and its many leafless trees in the regions that give the whole landscape a very atmospheric, dreamy look. They may be leafless, but to me, they appear to be posing like a living being. Quite a juxtaposition in my head. Adelaide is Australia's fifth largest city. It is also sometimes known as a 20-minute city due to its rather compact nature compared to the previous two metropolitan cities of Sydney and Melbourne. The rolling hills, beaches also provide some great vistas. It also has decent graffiti and street art along with some radical lighting on buildings. But from here, it is the start of the famed nothingness as we progress further towards the west. The salt lake of Bombala treated us with an unexpected giant fiberglass Loch Ness monster replica. Horrocks Pass Road is a great mountain road that feels right out of a movie, and it's very close to Port Augusta that you can take. The real length and breadth of Australia starts hitting you from here. We chose to go on the Tyre highway towards Perth, of course. I love this part of Australia since it gives me so much time to think and reflect on our purpose in a positive way. But even on this route, there are some interesting things. Mount Woodina is Australia's second largest monolith. It is an amazingly surreal feeling to walk on the granite surface with an empty horizon. I almost felt like an astronaut. Machines like this one make me go crazy. This behemoth is a farm sprayer, but it looks like something from a movie. The farms in Australia are equally crazy big as this land. The curiously named Iron Knob is another nondescript place along the highway but is regarded as a birthplace of the Australian steel industry. The human-crafted landscape looks something out of a Mad Max movie. Penang has an open-air windmill museum. But close to this city, there is a magical place, Lake McDonald, which is a salt lake that turns pink in the right season. This place also has the largest gypsum deposit in the whole of Southern Hemisphere, along with an interplay of blue waters and sand dunes dating back thousands of years to Ice Age. The Nullarbor. It is hard to describe this place. For some people, it can be boring. For some, it can be a revelation. I believe crossing the Nullarbor will bring out the real you, especially on a motorcycle. To me, crossing the Nullarbor Plains means time for introspection and maybe wish the aliens would finally make contact. Nullarbor literally means no trees. Though this stretches for 1200 kilometers from Sedona in South Australia to Norseman in Western Australia, the section where there is no vegetation at all is striking. The journey is not difficult unless something goes wrong with you or your motorcycle. This is so remote that planes have to land to take patients to a hospital which could be many hundred kilometers away. A breakdown can take a day or more to be attended to. Incredibly, the Nullarbor can be much more than a very unearthly and long stretch of nothingness. We ran into a rally of over 200 quirky cars raising money for cancer research. It almost felt like a movie set. Then there was this guy who was flying across Australia solo in a plane and landed on a dirt strip just behind our roadhouse in the Nullarbor. If that was not enough, we met a solo bicycle rider going to Perth from Melbourne. Like I said, Nullarbor is different for different people, but they all are out here to discover something new about themselves and about life. The sunrise and sunsets are some of the most incredible. While going to Perth, we did 1624 kilometers in 15 hours of saddle time and got an Iron Bird certificate for it. While going from Perth to Sydney, we had to cross the Nullarbor again and took it much slower. Of course, there are a lot of straights in Australia's longest straight road as well, and many times it is also considered the world's longest straight road at 146 kilometers straight. This is also the road train's country. They are beautiful man-made creatures, gentle giants and a sight to behold on the roads. They range from 28 to 60 meters. Overtaking a road train on a motorcycle can be dangerous at times. Vacuum and sudden wind blasts upon crossing one can throw the motorcycle off in the other direction and off the road's shoulder. But they are majestic and look incredible in the night with all the lights. Perth, the most isolated megacity on planet Earth. It is hard to imagine how isolated it is. The closest neighboring city with all facilities that's not a small village is 2100 kilometers away, and it is Adelaide in South Australia. It was founded just 200 years ago. Yes, it is that new. It is closer to Singapore than it is to Adelaide. A lot of trivia like this makes you realize just how big Australia is. The last thing that we expected to see in Perth was a supercar meet. This was an open event where kids, families and petrolheads came together in a vineyard in the Swan Valley near Perth. There are other things that you can see, like the Omeo shipwreck. This was a trading ship that was driven ashore in 1905 and has been there since. But when in this corner of the world, everyone should visit the Pinnacles desert. Two Rocks is a small town en route to the Pinnacles desert, and it is worth a visit for its beautiful and rugged coastlines and white beaches. The Pinnacle itself comprises of limestone outcrops that are close to 30,000 years old and give the landscapes an otherworldly feel. The best part about it is that you can actually drive through it.
With the Pinnacles desert winds and the southern ocean's call, racing hearts through landscapes that enthrall. We blaze the trails, we own the night. With every rev, we take flight. The Outback whispers secrets in the breeze. Our hearts race, feeling the ease. Through the rugged paths to the ghost towns and winding roads, we carry our dreams, heavy loads. The thrill of the journey, the bond we share, every mile a memory rare. The adrenaline rush, the freedom's fire. We ride on, powered by desire. From dawn to dusk, even after rough 1,600 kilometers, we never tire. Our spirits soar, climbing higher. The road ahead, an endless song. With every turn, we belong. The roar of 4 cylinders, the pulse of life, cutting through the air sharp as a knife. In this vast land, Ninja H2 and Tijuana V4 find our place on 2 wheels. We embrace the chase.
It was time to start heading back east towards Sydney. But this time we were doing no iron butt and will be going down south before going back to the Nullarbor Plains. From Perth, as we rode down south, we came across giants made out of wood on beaches and a forest full of gnomes. And then there is the town of Australind, which, as we suspected, did turn out to be a name amalgamating the 2 countries of Australia and India, which was chosen due to the belief that area could be used for breeding horses for the British Indian Army. It was a beautiful place with a very unique tree that was pale white and reminded me of life after death for some strange reason. En route to the city of Augusta, you will find a lot of forests and interesting places like Lake Clifton thrombolites. These interesting formations are built by tiny microorganisms believed to be linked to the earliest forms of life on Earth. One of my favorite towns in Western Australia is Augusta. The Augusta Boat Harbour is a great place to go with a motorcycle. You can go right to the end of the pier with the bikes. I could have sat there on the rocks for hours looking out on the vast Indian Ocean, wondering about the secrets it harbors. Cape Leeuwin Lighthouse in Augusta is the most southwestern point of the Australian continent. Beyond this, there is just Antarctica in the south or Africa in the west. It is a beautiful place. I wondered how many ships it must have seen, the almost 150 years since it was constructed. Such things also make you think that no one from that generation will be alive now. Sort of gives perspective for a moment about our trivial worries, doesn't it? The Western Australian coastline is some of the best in the world. It is rugged, scary, and reminds you of the tremendous power that water holds to give life and to carve canyons out of mountains. Close to the city of Albany is the Torndirrup National Park, which has rock formations over 1300 million years ago. At the place called The Gap, you can literally feel something supernatural with those vertical, dramatic cliff drops and the layers of rocks packed into columns with the water violently splashing down below. It is insane and one of the best coastlines I have ever seen. From the city of Albany, we headed out further east and came across the Stirling Ranges National Park that looked stunning. The nearby Bluff Knoll at 3,600 feet above sea level is the highest peak of this region and was an unexpected sight. Keep an eye out for a windmill, which is also a hotel along the road. For a moment, I thought I was in Denmark. Esperance was next on the list, one of the most beautiful towns we came across on our road trip. It has some of the most beautiful beaches in Australia with turquoise water, pure white sands, and extremely dramatic rock formations and coastlines. But the best part about this town for motorcyclists is the Great Ocean Drive, that is actually a 40 kilometers loop. But in these 40 kilometers, you will also see incredible winding roads, beautiful coastlines rivaling its bigger namesakes, and dramatic coastlines as well, and some of the best beaches and rock formations in all of Australia. As we crossed the Nullarbor once more on this ride while going back to Sydney, we managed to soak in one of the greatest sights in Australia. The Great Australian Bight, which is a huge open bay just south of the Nullarbor. In some places, it comes very close to the road itself, offering spectacular views and very high cliffs that just drop into the ocean. The Great Australian Bight came into existence about 50 million years ago, when the supercontinent Gondwana broke apart, separating Antarctica from Australia. You can also spot whales if you come here in the right season. There is no end to spectacles that nature has in Australia. After this, we were treated to the wonders of Eyre Peninsula. Murphy's Haystack is another curiously named rock formation in this region. These impressive granite formations have been sculpted over millions of years by erosion, resulting in large, rounded boulders that resembles haystacks or piles of giant marbles. The story goes that someone saw these rocks from a distance and thought they were haystacks. The land then was owned by a man called Murphy. One of the most stunning drives that we came across in the Eyre Peninsula was a cliff-top drive in the town of Elliston. The insane, rugged and dramatic coastlines will make you feel that you are in a prehistoric era. The massive sculptures on the cliffs lend it a very different feeling to this whole area. Elliston Jetty is also a very picturesque place to visit and take photos of. It is also very fascinating and has lots of wonders to discover. From Elliston, we went further east and back into Port Augusta. It was time for the home run to Sydney, which was still 1500 kilometers away. But this time we will be taking a different route through the South Australian and New South Wales Outback. Dawson is one of the many coast towns in this region which could not sustain themselves to lack of proper planning. So we decided to visit Dawson, which had a couple of churches and a town hall. It involved 60 kilometers of off-road riding, which was fun but a bit of challenge on the superbikes that we had. Kangaroos, emus, wild horses, sheep, spiders, and then the eerie silence of the town that once was. We arrived in the small town of Yunta, which is powered by diesel generators. The sky was one of the clearest we have seen, and we were mesmerized by the millions of stars in the sky. In fact, this region is one of the remotest in Australia and has roads that challenge you into isolated regions that would challenge your luck, and off-road vehicles with no petrol pumps for many hundred kilometers and not a soul in sight. Maybe I will do that someday. Even sticking to the normal highway felt extremely isolated here, and we enjoyed the serenity at the night of the barrier highway just before reaching the town of Broken Hill. Riding at night is one of the most dangerous things that you can do in Australia. We got abused by road train drivers for our own sake, who tried to warn us about the dangers. Riding at night is also considered to be one of the most dangerous in the world here in Australia due to the number of animals that can cross the roads. But somehow we survived. And even more than that, it was unavoidable. Broken Hill is an iconic town because of Mad Max movies. It is here and the nearby town of Silverton and surrounding roads that the Mad Max cult was born. And I am a big fan, so visiting a few of those roads was rite of passage into Valhalla. The last town in the outback for us was Cobar. That's Australia's largest producer of copper, and this was the Cobar mine, which was almost 2 kilometers deep. The last day saw us ride through the Blue Mountains and into Sydney, concluding our cross-continental road trip. The last day was a contrast to the days earlier, having a lot of clouds and mountains. Australia is a truly vast country with a lot of variations, but the huge distances make it something to remember for a lifetime.
The camaraderie, the shared thrill. On this epic journey, we find our fill. From Perth city lights to the Outback's grace, we ride with pride, we set the pace. The open road of the Nullarbor Plains, our stage so grand. Together, we conquer this magnificent land. So here's our story, bold and true, riding the dream with our crew. XB8